Good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. You're tuned to Computers 2K Now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Gal.
Good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Why am I frozen? No.
Oh,
Okay.
no,
Everything's
you're
okay.
okay.
Yeah.
And
Something
Spence is
something
here.
froze on my end.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we're going to have the 11:30 to 12:30 or 11:30 to 12:30 version of the show tonight.
No,
Live.
no.
Oh. You're going to
Uh,
rerun last year's. Just play last year's.
Nick is supposedly in the air on the way back home, and Katie is a little bit under the weather after she came back from her trip. So they're not going to be here, I guess. Our number is 919-518-9773, Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by vMix Software and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. So what's been happening this week? Anything that jumps up at you? Jumps out?
Amazon is going to start charging people more
Oh, yeah.
if they wanna watch videos.
Yep. So if you
Uh,
have Amazon Prime, where was the story? I had it here.
Yeah,
if you have
$2.99.
Amazon Prime and you actually watch their videos, you are now going to see advertisements.
I
You
can't
can
believe that
pay
they didn't
and
have
you can
any till
pay
now.
free. Well, they sort of had trailers whenever you start a show. Usually it was trailers to other shows.
Yes.
I'm guessing now it'll be a trailer and an ad.
An ad.
I wonder if and I'm guessing ads are going to break the flow. It's going to be um, in the
In
feed.
between?
Otherwise, they wouldn't have sent out, I think, those emails. So we'll see.
Hmm.
We
I
had a
haven't.
long
Yeah, go ahead.
discussion about it with the family talk because everybody, when they're here for Christmas, and talked about it. And he said, we all have Hulu accounts, and we don't have the no commercial version of Hulu. And it really isn't that bad. They tell you how long it's going to be. It's like a minute and 30 seconds. And it's like gives you enough time to get up and get something to drink or whatever. And
Yeah, Roku does the same thing.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that timer up there, this is an interesting one. Since October 7th, we've been watching a lot of Israeli TV.
Hmm.
It's available for free, most of it, because most of it is commercial support. And it seems that there is some sort of law in Israel because all of the channels do something very similar. When a commercial break starts, there's a timer
Hmm.
that shows exactly how long the commercial break is going to be. Uh, and it's very, very bold and clear. Like it's not in any way subliminal or just because we have to or something. I gotta say that is the best feature. At least I know for how long to mute the TV, and and that includes the entire break. Like even if there's trailers by the same network or something like that, it's not just the ad. Like breaking the flow of broadcast, timer starts, it's very clear how long it's going to be. So yes, I agree. That part of a commercial break is a positive, but when it happens, I don't know, 4 times an hour, that is that is annoying as hell.
Yeah.
Especially if they run the same ad.
Yes, it's usually the case, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That ad will be shown multiple times, and when and with new services adding ads like Amazon right now, it's probably going to be okay. You have a minute of a half, a minute and a half of an ad break. It might be the same ad twice in a row or something like that, right?
Yes.
Because they're
Yes.
low on. That is annoying as
Yeah.
hell.
They just don't have
Right?
enough people paying for advertising
Yeah.
time.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, the Roku, when you watch a movie or anything, the ads, each ad has its own timer, I think. And
Right,
every,
and that's not fair, right?
because you don't know how
You-
many of them are going
Yeah,
to
come
be.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's nice. The whole, yeah, the whole break. So the story goes that Amazon earlier this year announced plans to start incorporating ads into movies and TV shows streamed from its Prime Video service. And now the company has revealed a specific date when you'll start seeing them, January 29th. This will allow us to continue investing in competing content and keep increasing that investment over a long period of time, the company said in an email to customers about the pending shift to limited advertisements. They call it limited. So you know what's coming next.
Unlimited?
Full advertising, full ad. This time it'll maybe just very limited. You know, we're just gonna test it on the 7 people that are watching Prime TV, Prime uh what do you
Video.
call it? Amazon Prime videos.
Video. Yep.
But it's I mean, you know, they all do it, and that's why I'm surprised. And I asked Kathy, I said, "Are they ads?" Because I don't watch it, but she does every now and then. She said, "I don't think so." And I said, "Well, you're going to start seeing ads." She said, "Well, I don't watch it enough." So, but yeah, that's very
Be
interesting, and they're going to
interesting to
make
find.
a bunch of money from it. I mean, there is no doubt, because I don't know that they I don't know how it works there. Is it how many people are watching it, or is it how many are they playing into the
Well,
video?
they get statistics about how many people are watching, and that's what they base the revenue for a
Oh,
specific slot on.
okay.
So you can buy a 15-second, 30-second, 1 minute, and then it costs like the way broadcast TV does it for prime time. You might be paying for a 30-second ad. You might be paying $3 million because you know it's going to
Yeah,
hit.
but it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter how many people are watching it.
Well, they
Right.
You,
assume they
you're yeah,
assume.
you're paying per ad per. I mean, for
Yeah, I
commercials,
don't think that it'd be interesting if they can have real time. Um,
nah.
no, well, think about it. Say, well, you want to run your ad at this time. We're going to bill you based on how many people are watching.
Yeah.
They're not going to
I
do
don't
that.
think they'll have that. I think
No.
They want to guarantee the
I don't.
money.
No, I doubt they'll be able to charge as much as actual TV for those ads.
Yeah.
I wonder if
One
they're
thing
going
I
to
can tell you about
use
it
use
is,
collected money, collected information for targeting what
yeah, that's for
commercials you
sure.
see.
That's for sure. But I don't think that gets them even close to um, TV sponsored ads because um, there's something about the digital world, right? Is that is a lot cheaper than the old school world. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they have some stats that are showing that this will bring some money in. Somehow, I have a feeling that it is going to get bad before it's going to get sane again.
Bad
So
as in how? When you say
it'll
bad,
start with with very few ads, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't have a lot. Then they'll start ramping it up where it will be like TV, where you went to watch, I don't know, a 45 minute show. It'll be an hour and 10. And yeah, and
We
there's
also
nothing good is going to come out of it.
Yeah.
the services now that like on Hulu and all that and others, sometimes the commercials are not for general audiences.
Oh,
And
yeah, that's true.
you say, "Oh, I don't want to watch this, male enhancement ad or just." I'm serious. I mean, it's just I don't, I can just walk away from it. But what if you have young kids there? I mean, it's not, and it has nothing to do with the show you're watching. It's just what
It's
shows up.
educational, Spence. Come
Oh
on.
yeah, yep.
It is, though. It can be a problem. There's no doubt.
This is how you teach your children about one, capitalism, two, biology, and three, bullshit. So
So we should all three of us have an experiment. The next time we're watching Prime for a few days, while you're watching, talk about, hey, I'm really interested in buying a refrigerator and see if some ad shows up. Well, I mean, that's not likely you'd get an appliance advertisement, but maybe a bed. Oh, we're going to buy a new bed because you always see commercials for different types of beds and see what happens. That happened
Mm.
to my neighbor. We were talking about what type of bed we bought in their car. And the next day they started getting ads for beds.
Nah, they're
right.
not listening
But
to.
remember, your phone was next to their phone, right? Moving in the same direction for a long time. That is easier metadata than anything else.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's nothing. It is way more creepier, right, than actually listening to the voice, because then there's a semblance that you have some control over it. But this has nothing to do with the fact that your voice is being recorded.
No.
And that's the thing. That is what trips me the most when this kind of conversation starts. Everybody goes for the hardest to implement, right? And the thing that sort of gives you control. No, this is way out of our control already. This has nothing to do with what we are actually actively doing at a specific moment. This has more about the system knowing us better than we know ourselves.
Mm,
And I think that is a lot creepier than, yes, it's recording my voice, right? This is not about me telling a secret to a friend. This is about knowing what I am going to talk about when I'll see that friend. That is the thing.
So we're
So
relatively safe if we have a relative who passes away, and when we go to their house to clean it out, we find $500,000 in cash, and we say, "Well, I don't know what to do." You're talking to your friends, "Hey, I buried it in my backyard," and next thing you know, the FBI is there. Where's this money? Well, the IRS, I should say.
well,
Interesting.
anyway, talking about ads and streaming and all that. Netflix's share of US streaming viewership by 2 to 11-year-olds fell to 21% in September from 25% 2 years earlier, according to Nielsen. Meanwhile, YouTube's share jumped to 33% from 29.4 over the same period. That really is changing major streaming services' approach to children's entertainment from what shows and movies they make to where they release them. Many are pulling back on investments in children content, and some streamers have started content for young viewers on such platforms as Google owned YouTube and Roblox. So the big guys are kinda shifting. Um,
Well, I if we tie it to the previous thing about ads,
yeah.
I think one of the things that happened is that YouTube Kids, um, uh, that uh, um, that is YouTube's version that does not have any ads.
Oh,
So when um,
not yet, you mean?
no, 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 no. By design, they switched off
Yeah.
the ads on these. So if you upload content that is marked as kids for kids, okay, then there's no ads on it. There's no. It won't add any ads, and so you cannot play it on embedded players. The video must be front and center, uh, but the but it's going to be right. So you put on I don't know, a lullaby, right? There are these videos for 45 minutes long or 2 hours long of a lullaby with some random video going on and some music and stuff
Mhm.
like that. That is promised to never be with ads, and it's promised to always be in the front. So even if you hand a kid a tablet, right, and you put them on YouTube Kids, they cannot play it in the background and trick you into thinking that they're doing one thing and watching another thing or something like that. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's the whole idea of YouTube Kids. Now that has been growing in the past 2 years. It maybe started techni- technically wise 4 years ago, something like that. But in the last 2 years, the amount of content that has been marked for children has grown substantially. So you have, on the one hand, a free offering, right, without ads, and on the other, you have Netflix. Yes, why would I go to Netflix, right?
Yeah.
If I can give something to my kid, right, in a restaurant or um, at home, and it'll be I know it's safe, right? So yep. So
Yeah.
I think the fact that they removed ads on YouTube, right, is the reason that we see something like that, like an exodus of users. Mhm. And so we
Well,
get a new generation. Also, remember, we're talking about a new generation of kids, right? Because the kids that started watching Netflix at a certain point, right? Um, their parents might have dropped. First of all, we're talking about Netflix pressing down on account sharing on the one hand.
mhm.
Remember that, right? So these are new parents who are no longer living on, who are starting to disconnect their stuff from back home, right? Because they're starting to their own family already. So when the kids are between 1 and 2, they're no longer using dad's, grandpa's Netflix account, right? Because that's becoming a nuisance. So and they don't want to pay for Netflix, so they go and find a free offering. YouTube, on the other hand, has a free offering without ads for kids. So I don't know. Seems like very natural math to me.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. And when you're talking about no ads, there was a story that was some time ago about Amazon Prime or Amazon Music, sorry, that you could have you could get what they call white noise
Yeah.
without ads, free. And
Uh,
they were,
as an Alexa service, I think.
yeah,
No. Yeah.
and people were complaining that after 5, 6 hours, you play it all night, and
Yeah.
suddenly Alexa breaks in and say, "Oh, do you want to buy that?" And it wakes you up. So I don't know
Yeah.
what they did about this, but yeah, it's fun. But here is something else about this. It says after losing more than 5 billion with a B in the past year, The world's largest traditional entertainment companies, Disney, Warner Brothers, Discovery, Comcast, and Paramount, are contemplating cuts and possible mergers to ultimately help better compete with Netflix. So now they're trying to, I mean, Netflix is hurting them apparently. I don't
I
know.
mean, Netflix is hurting them, maybe, right?
Yeah,
But I feel like Netflix isn't making the money that is
right.
right. That's the thing. It's like if they're hurting you and they're not making the money that you are losing, maybe you made too much money to start with. You were
Yeah.
charging way more than you should. Uh, you were paying too little to your people than you should, etc.
Well, I
So
mean, I don't know if it's also, and I mean, I'm not a Netflix fan, but I don't know if, I mean, for Disney and Discovery and Paramount, you have to subscribe.
yeah,
So I don't know if it's a situation where people say, instead of me subscribing to three or four of those, I can just go to Netflix, pay a lot less as one subscription, and watch most of the stuff that I want to watch. And forget about sports. I don't
yeah. But
know. I don't know that that's the thing. I don't know if you can get on Netflix things that you
so
have on the others.
Disney, when they started their streaming service, they took out all of the Disney content from
Yeah,
any
that's
other
right. I
streaming,
remember that. Yeah,
right? So Disney
yeah.
itself has this library that is very, very critical, right? Probably for that same 2 to 11 years old content, right? So that's also part of it. But that started 2020. So um, maybe 2019. So that why has it declined just these two past 2 years? I don't know. Maybe it
Uh,
started earlier.
Disney, it's because of their woke position. There's been a backlash with families because of the content that they've been putting into their kid stuff.
I don't know. I've watched recent content by Disney, and
Oh,
it doesn't feel any more woke than any 70s shows from primetime TV.
well,
If you
this
look
is
at
the
Taxi, if you look at what were the biggest shows back then, 80s was Cosby Family. Uh, the content in these shows, right? By today's standard, was way more woke
well, it's
than
not,
ever.
but it's not adult content you're talking about. It's kids content, and they're perceived or for whatever reason there is a conception about Disney, and even Iger in his statement he made a couple of weeks ago said we have to reverse this decline because of woke. Because you had advocates like Disney with Star Wars, for example, and
Yeah.
they said that the storylines were changing, and people who wanted to have those safe storylines were complaining to say, "Wait a minute, why are you including these type of character?" Now Disney might think, "Well, this is mainstream, the way so society is today," but there are people that want it to stay the way it was, and no, most
Yeah, usually
it's
people who want things to stay the way they are, they're usually wrong because things change whether they want it or not, and um um just insisting that something doesn't change never works, right?
well
So
for what they're
I'm
saying
not
is
saying
that
it should change the way it changes, right? But I'm saying change will come. So
but there were things that were objectionable to parents showing up in Disney content for kids. And they just said, I'm not going to let my kids watch this anymore because I don't know what they're going to be confronted with. So they did. These are subjects that say that I want to control the way they're introduced to my child. I don't want Disney being involved.
hmm.
They were specifically saying things about transgender and gay content that was showing up in movies where you had like a relationship between two animated characters, and kids parents are like, no, not this is not where they're going to get it from. they're gonna get their opinion from me, not from Disney. So real or perceived. It's that's part of the why that's part of the reason why they were hemorrhaging, because they had a lot of very high profile flops
Well,
that just didn't make it at the box
again, the
office.
point here is that these services are apparently not, I don't know that they're losing money, but they're not making
What they
uh,
hoped. Yeah.
what they hope to. Yeah, when they say $5 billion, I mean, that's potential, but I'm sure they're still
Agreed.
making
That's
money.
not a that's not a lot of money with their total
Yeah,
total numbers.
yeah,
But the
that's
fact that
true.
they've lost ground is that they're
Yeah,
supposed to be on a growth curve
yeah,
to continue growing,
yeah.
and they're not. So
So it's
People
interesting.
have been going back to work and not staying at home and watching TV 24/7. That's all.
yeah,
There's
that
no more
that's
pandemic.
that's a very real. You're right, because they boomed during
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
pandemic, and now things are back to normal, and they're like they're scratching their heads. Why is this happening?
Yeah. And bills have only risen. So it's like there money needs to be put on the table.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
All
going to
right.
be interesting. The merger thing is quite fascinating because typically big mergers like that don't always work out.
well, they never work out for the customer,
Oh no, they're
for the
never for the
consumer.
customer. I mean, for the companies.
Yeah.
You look at what was the first gigantic leveraged buyout? It wasn't media. It was like Nabisco or something like that. It was this huge deal, billions and billions of dollars back in the late '80s or early '90s, something like that. They made movies about it, and it was terrible. They eventually went back. They eventually sold a bunch of the divisions off because they just lost their it just was terrible for them. And what the reason it was made money was because of the leverage buyout that used other people's money. And they did this merger, and then it just was a total disaster. Not only for the consumer, but for the company itself. But the people who made commission on the sale, they did great. Imagine
Always
being
the
a
lawyers.
real estate agent and getting 5% for a $5 million property sale.
What's wrong with that?
No, nothing. I'm just saying, man. It's just if you can get that kind of an audience, clients, to list properties for that kind of money, which isn't that rare today. You got
Yeah.
houses in Apex that are well over $1 million. Just on 10 years ago, that would be you'd be like, what are you nuts?
All right. And here is something. Let's switch. Researchers on last Wednesday presented intriguing new finding surrounding an attack that over 4 years backdoored dozens, if not thousands, of iPhones, many of which belonged to employees of Moscow based security firm Kaspersky. Chief among the discoveries, the unknown attackers were able to achieve an unprecedented level of access by exploiting a vulnerability in an undocumented hardware feature that few, if anyone, outside of Apple and chip suppliers such as ARM Holding knew of. The exploit's sophistication and the feature's obscurity suggest the attackers had advanced technical capabilities. Kaspersky researcher Boris Laren wrote in an email. Our analysis hasn't revealed how they became aware of this feature, but we're exploring all possibilities, including accidental disclosure in past firmware or source code releases. They may also have stumbled upon it through hardware reverse engineering. And when I was reading, I mean, first of all, this is very disturbing. I mean, 4 years. But then I said, well, could it be that they found out about it from release what do they call it? Release, change releases. What do they call it? Shoot, what am I thinking?
Release notes.
Release notes with every version. Oh yeah, we did this. I don't know, but I mean, 4 years of backdoor, serious backdoor. And I don't know why they're saying that it's dozens, if not thousands. What about millions? What is it? Only in a few phones? Um, Maybe they had to have some kind of access to the. I have no idea, but it's very disturbing. And especially you're talking about iPhones. All these people that bought it just because, okay, we're secured.
Well, never assume
You,
you're secured, even if you
Well,
are secured.
yeah,
Amnon,
that's
you were one of the early voices back going, "Oh, you buy Apple's so secure, and Max is
yeah,
secure, Max is secure," and it's like the
not
only
me.
reason
We
they're so
all were.
secure.
Yeah,
No, but I mean, it was you talk to Mac advocates, and they were like,
yeah,
"Oh, that's nonsense. We're safe."
right.
And but the just fascinating. It's
Yeah, it's really bad. I mean, and I don't think I really think that people with iPhones still are not worried about it. It's like embedded in how they treat the phone. Now, all right, here's some good news and very interesting. Yeah,
There's no such thing.
I didn't know about that. If you ever perform the fresh install of Windows 11, you'll know how long it takes and how much effort you need to get it started. Fortunately, Microsoft is taking note, as spotted in a recent update to Windows 11 beta branch. The company is working on a way to reinstall your operating system through Windows updates, and no files are lost in the process. The newest update to Windows Insider Beta branch has added a new feature titled Fix Problems Using Windows Update. The feature is still a work in progress, so it doesn't work as it should right now. However, if you're on the Windows 11 Insider Beta branch, you can see the button for yourself on the recovery page among the Windows 11 backup settings. Now, to reinstall, I mean, I don't know, it's not such a big deal to reinstall an operating system from scratch. But they're saying here, without lost any files lost. Now, when you reinstall, it also asks you, it said, don't lose my files or something, but
Oh,
it does.
but it hasn't been losing files.
It hasn't been
Talking
losing.
files, not installations.
Yeah,
It
it has.
hasn't been losing files
Right.
since Windows
Oh,
7,
yeah, absolutely.
right? Because it moves to the Windows old folder,
Right.
and everything's. I remember doing that manually on Windows XP every time I wanted to install stuff. I would, uh, uh, I would move folders around, right, and then just install instead of with a format just on the existing
Right.
file system,
But you
right?
couldn't,
And Windows does it by default today.
but you
So
can't reinstate the programs, the
unless you
installations.
did an in-place upgrade.
We're not talking upgrade. Yeah, upgrade, yeah. But we're talking about
You could
reinstall.
install on the same system. It doesn't matter that it was the same version. You could still do that. And it sounds that that's what they're doing. They're just automating that process through Windows up. Uh, I mean, I'm for it.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
If
I don't
it's,
think I'll ever use it
why not?
because because I trust the actions that I do more than I trust some automated process that I do not understand the end result. Right? It's like, so what is going to happen to system files uh that shouldn't be there? Will it clean it up? No, probably the answer is no. So
Probably not.
if I'm going on a deep clean I'll go with a deep
That
clean.
yeah,
I'll
that's a
tell you
different
what I
story.
am,
Yeah,
but I'll tell you what I am excited about in terms of changes, right? So I think talked everybody's ear out on Winget and the
yeah,
way managing installations today on Windows has become a lot more like uh, uh, flexibility and ease as available in Linux systems. And in the past, this is probably 2 weeks now, maybe a bit more, maybe less. Uh, latest update of Winget um, applies um, a native PowerShell module for Winget, and this is a game changer. Uh, PowerShell in general is a game changer in Windows, and it's a game changer that started about 10, 15 years ago, right? Uh, and it has taken the amount of control that it allows anybody who writes automations for PCs is phenomenal, and it is much more robust and complex than any scripting option that was there before. It has its issues. It relies on the .NET framework, which means it's very Windows centric. But even on Linux, right, it works phenomenally well. But you need to install the .NET framework there, right, in order for it to. So because it's packaged this way, it's more complex. In any way, on Windows, where the .NET framework today is ubiquitous, it's there. It requires an install, but it's there. Um, having this in a PowerShell module, which provides all of the benefits of using it within PowerShell, has become the most robust way to update. And not only that, I can preserve a list of all of the applications that I have currently installed, dump them into an XML file. I can take this to a new machine. I can take that XML file, import it to PowerShell, right? And install all of that software. And I don't even need to stand next to the machine while it's doing it because it'll automate most of the processes there. Probably some of the installers will ask me a question or two, but most of them will be completely automated. So I have a way of migrating installations rather easily. And if I also know how to migrate their data, uh, then an in-place upgrade is seems to me like a step back, right? It's like you have a way of when we get a new phone, it doesn't matter whether it's iPhone or Android. Uh, you can get the phone to clone itself to a new system where it'll install all of the applications. It'll sync all of the cloud saved data, right? And your new phone behaves, let's say, 85%, 90% like your old phone. That is what I would really want to see in Windows. Because if it's possible to do it here, why can't we do it on the so I'm guessing that with some call it niche applications, right? That won't that won't be supported because it requires some effort to do it on the application side to do it properly. Uh, but overall, today, running a Windows machine with all of the benefits of hardware support, games, even services, VMs that can be automated and stuff like that, which is very similar to what we've seen in the Linux world up until now. Uh, yeah. Oh, and don't forget, you can run a complete Linux machine, a complete Linux system on top of Windows, and it'll run seamlessly using virtualization in such an effective way that you can literally live in those two worlds, right, and manage it properly. So there's that, right? It's like Windows has become the most comfortable system to live in. Strangely enough, that wouldn't be something I would have said lightly 5, 10 years ago.
right.
So um, yeah, some things have changed, and with Microsoft. being at the forefront of AI embedding of tools, right? Which is the biggest buzzword around. Notice that everybody's talking about AI, nobody's talking about VR, and VR was the biggest buzzword like 4 years ago, right? So with AI being front and center, and Microsoft uh, so deeply invested in that, it's probably the best system to try these things out. So, pretty a
Yep.
brave new world.
Yeah, it
But
is a new world.
in
Absolutely.
place updates, I don't think that's the biggest. Like, that seems like a step backwards, literally, unless they're planning on something like that. Like, let's clone this system to a new system, a fresh new system. I'll install all the apps for you. That I would love to
That
see.
would be, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's that would be more like a reinstall of the system. When you're
yeah.
thinking about your system, you're thinking about your computer, and I have this, and I have this, and I have this.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
I just helped my family back in Israel. They bought a new computer for one of the family members, right? And um, purchasing the OS with the computer would cost there somewhere around
Oh,
$150.
they can buy a computer without operating system
Yeah, in
at the
Israel, there's
store?
no law like here.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And law. Remember, it's not the law; it's Microsoft going
Licensing.
into a
Yeah.
contract, licensing contract with all of those.
Yeah.
Anyway, buying the license would cost around $150, and Black Friday being Black Friday, I think I got it for $20 from Woot. So I said, forget about it. Let me buy a license for you. This way, we don't need. I can crack it, right? But no need.
Mhm.
Uh, I'll buy you a Windows 11 license, and I'll help you install it. Like, just make sure you also buy a clean USB key, and we'll do that work. And I guided them remotely. They're holding the phone in a video call, and I'm guiding them through the process. Rather painless process, right? I've done it multiple times, so there wasn't any surprises. But now they say, yeah, but on the old computer we had Word.
Uh-huh. That's
Now
it.
I need to, yeah, okay, I'll help you install that too. That's not a problem, right? It's just another license. But if that part would be automated, right?
Yep.
uh, and it'll tell you, do you have an old computer? I can transfer your licensed application over to
Mhm.
this one, right? And it'll be seamless because I do have a license. It's on the other computer. That's all. And that computer is going dead. I'm not going to use it anymore, right? So what? Why should I buy a new Office license, right? I
Right.
shouldn't. I don't need to. So stuff like that. If that would be automated, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah. If grandma had wheels.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, you and me, we already have an automated way of installing Office, right? Once we
Yeah.
found that way, it's phenomenal. It's like, oh yes, I want that, right?
And
But
in a lot of cases, in reinstalling Office, for instance, was a problem because people don't keep a lot of people did not keep up with their media. So
right,
the media is where you have the license written on and all that.
right,
Now, even though I don't like Microsoft accounts, and I have one, you have to have one kind of, but when you go to your Office license, then you can get, I mean, you can, when you go to your Office account, Microsoft account, the licenses are there and you can do it. And I did it a few times in the last few months where I said to people, look, you're going to either have to buy a new key, or if you can figure out what your key is, what your license is, and under these circumstances, they went and looked real hard. And I told them to look in there too if they know how to. A lot of people, I mean, if you ask me today, how do I get to my Microsoft account? I don't know. I don't remember what I put there. I did it because they made me do it, but I
no,
never
I do
use it.
not.
Do what?
I do not log in into the Microsoft
Yeah,
account
I
from
mean,
the
that's the
office.
thing that you don't do it, so you don't I have no idea how to do it. And but that's the thing. If you have something there that's worth money, then you make an effort to
Probably, yeah.
to go in, and it worked in most cases. Yeah. So yeah, that would be very nice if it will be a true reinstall that
Yeah.
they can take everything and do that. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Did you ever, any of you guys ever buy anything from Zulily?
From what?
Zulily.
No, it doesn't sound familiar.
Well, it's an online retailer. Zulily is shutting down. Writing on the company's homepage, an official said Zulily leadership had made the difficult but necessary decision to conduct an orderly wind down of the business to maximize value for the company's creditors. Apparently, they're not making what they thought they were going to be making. They did not grow as the way according to plan, and that's it. So they're shutting it down, which makes sense. Um, Here's something that I'd like to see here that makes so much sense. British households will benefit from improved routes for recycling electronic goods from 2026 under government plans to have producers and retailers pay for household and in store collections. Consumers would be able to have electrical waste from cable to toasters and power tools, and of course, computers, collected from their homes or drop items off during a weekly shop, the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs said in a consultation published on Thursday. The ambition is for retailers, rather than the taxpayer, to pick up the tab for these new ways of disposing of defunct, often toxic products safely. The measures are due to come into force in 2 years' time. Now, sure, the consumer is going to end up paying for it
Yes.
because the prices will go up. But when you're thinking about what it's going to be, it may be just a few bucks.
It depends on
But
who they find to collect it. And if it's a place that actually makes money from collecting it, or you have to pay them to process it.
I
So
would think that that place it's just like over here. I mean, when you go to the dump, the waste, the recycle, what do you call them?
Cycling
The
center?
dump. Huh?
yeah, the hazardous waste
Yeah,
pickup
yeah.
place. Yeah,
They actually pay you for some of this stuff.
I've never had them. I never saw any places for them to pay from Wake County anyway.
You go in Wake County. Hannah took a pickup full of old hardware and metal and stuff a couple of years ago, and she made 120 some dollars. I said, you keep
I
the
don't
money.
think that was Wake County though.
That was Wake County.
I said that I've never seen a place to take your stuff to get paid for it.
Well,
Unless it's a different, maybe they run something I'm not aware of, but
I
I
don't know.
I take a lot of stuff there,
I
and I've
think,
never
I
seen
think,
it. There
I
was no
th-
way.
try and go on the website because I remember going on the website and it tells you if you bring this kind of stuff like hardware, they don't pay you by the weight because there's metal and there's electronics. So they break it. And there's a list of different things how much they pay you per pound. Um, I mean, whether or not it's still there, I don't know, but it was like this a few years ago. But again, if they have just like the collecting trash, if the trucks could go from uh retailer to retailer, let's say. I mean, the retailers get rid of their stuff somehow too, and they collect it, then it's only going to be a few bucks because there are so many. If you think that you have like, you know, 10,000 stores in your city and each one is paying $1 to do that, it's not much. It covers a lot, but it's not much to even pass to the consumer. So I don't know. I mean, it sounds like it's something that could work, and what it will do is there will be a lot less um, hazardous waste in landfills. Because yeah, if you can recycle this and reuse the metal and the whatever other precious quote unquote metal uh, or whatever is on it, yeah, that's the way to do it.
I
You go
know that
ahead. You,
Wake County, the question's always been, is the stuff you're dropping off capable of being recycled? For example, they supposedly only accept recyclables with a one. I have the sheet of paper that tells you what you can put in your
yeah.
recycling pickup,
Mhm.
and it's only items that are, a little triangle on the bottom and it has a number in it.
Right. That's different.
One,
That's, you mean, for
yeah,
homes.
for home,
Yeah.
yeah. But I
Yeah.
mean the same. But the electronic stuff or white goods and all that go through, that it's not free for them to recycle a refrigerator. I mean, there might be some things they take the gas out of it, but that's an environmental thing. That's
But
not,
it's
they're
metal.
not it is metal.
Yeah.
It is. No, and I'm saying that's good. Metal is probably one of the things that is easy to recycle. But when you drop off electronics, for them to try to pull the solder off and recover
I mean,
precious
it's
metals, it's
no, but
complex.
it's not them that are doing it.
Oh no, I know. But what I'm saying is it's hard to find somebody that's willing to pay you to take that stuff.
I don't know. And now that I'm thinking about it, actually, it still is going on. Or somebody is paying for that.
Yeah,
For
it's not Wake County though. I did a search on it, and there are places. When I said get paid for recycling, it's like pay more and carry and um, pay per cuts. No, there's a bunch of places you can go to that will give you
then
money
Wake
for it.
County is stupid for not doing it. Continue to doing it.
Well, I can't find anything on their webpage about it,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean they don't do
But
it.
yeah, but I mean, I put old computers and hardware and metal and stuff outside on the side of the at the end of the driveway. And there's
That's-
that one guy that comes once a week and he picks up all that stuff and we talk. And this is how he pays a lot of his bills. So
yeah.
obviously he
Oh
can
no,
sell it,
yeah.
which is great. I get rid of it, he takes it, makes some money. The people that buy it from him are probably making money, otherwise they wouldn't be uh selling it. And Spence, I don't know if you remember, but back when uh Nortel closed down and
Oh yeah.
I went and got all the different things, there was a big computer, a huge IBM.
Oh, I remember that gigantic, like, drawer,
I
deep. It was like a coffin almost.
Something, yeah,
Yeah, it had like 12. You could put 10 processors in it
yep,
and
and
giant cards. Yeah, I
when I
remember that.
cleaned the garage, there it is on the ground there. So I said, "Okay, yeah, I need to get rid of it." I could hardly move it.
Yeah, it was heavy. I remember that.
So it's still out there in the yard.
It is. Oh boy.
I mean, yeah, I moved it finally and it's on the yard, but I'm saying, "Damn, even if I wanted to, I mean, that will be worth a lot of money to some of these outfits." But there's no way I can put it up on the pickup. There is absolutely no way. I mean, it will take probably two, three, four people to pick it up on on the
So you'll
pickup.
have
So
2, 3, 4 people over there tomorrow. We can
well,
put it up in the
that's
pickup.
not the point. I mean, yeah, but then you go there and you have to drop it. Now what do you do?
You push it
Now
off the tailgate.
now
That's all.
actually Hannah said that when she took all that stuff, they had a magnet that picked up and put stuff
Yeah,
on the side.
that's not Wake County.
Yeah.
That doesn't
Okay.
matter. They might have it might have been authorized by Wake County, but it's not. They don't have a facility like
Okay.
that. Yeah,
But
I know the guys at the place I go to because I'm constantly taking stuff over there, metal, oil, whatever it is, and recyclable stuff.
did you
In the
ever
summertime,
ask them?
I did. Oh, I asked them
Okay.
what they did with all. I said in the metal bin, there's stuff in it. You're throwing bicycles away.
Yeah.
To the Met. What happens to this? Yeah, yeah, nothing. It just goes. It gets, gets crushed and short. I said, why don't you? And I thought about approaching them, but then again, I'm like, well, if I do that, what's that going to mean for me? Am I going to be on the hook to go? But I thought, well,
Uh,
and I talked to the guy. I says, you probably remember the guy in Durham that used to
yeah.
uh, fix bicycles, right?
Oh,
I think
no.
it still goes on. I
I'm
think
talking.
that he died, and I think people carry on that. But I said, what happens to all the bicycles? He goes, yeah, they go in there. And I look in there all the time and it's like, well, this is not junk.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff is not junk and should be reused.
The stuff I put in there is junk. Yeah.
It becomes junk.
If it's donatable, it goes to be donated. And then it's up to Habitat to tell me they don't want it. So yeah.
Yep.
I probably make at least 2 trips a month, maybe more, to the recycling place. I gotta go. I still have to pick up Eve's water heater. It's still sitting on her deck.
Yeah, it can be a big
Yeah.
to
I mean,
do.
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
But once I get it over there, they'll take it. There's no problem. They'll help me get it out of the pickup. But what you do just to get rid of that computer, you just open the tailgate and you just accelerate real fast and it'll just slide out and right.
Yep.
Didn't we try to power that up at one time?
It did power up.
Yeah.
And
I remember.
I'm sure it still will power up. The only thing I think I pulled out of it was some memory dims
Yeah, I
back
remember they
then.
had
And back
memory. There was
then
no
it
hard
was
drives in it. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think
I remember that. I don't remember what
yeah.
it was an IBM machine, but I don't remember what the
Net something, net
yeah. But it was gigantic. I mean, it was
yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, um web software firm 37 Signals, that's the name of it, 37 Signals,
Yeah.
has migrated off the cloud after spending 3.2 million on Amazon Web Services last year. That's coming from the co-founder David Hansen, who is also the creator of Ruby on Rails.
Yeah.
The Basecamp project management software maker bought 600,000 of Dell servers and expects to save over 7 million in 5 years by running operation in-house.
Oh,
The
okay, okay.
Yeah,
No,
so
yeah.
instead of
No, they're selling software as a service. So saying they went off the cloud sounds really really
for
bizarre.
their
So they're
services,
just moving their from somebody else's cloud to
right,
their own
to their
cloud.
own,
Okay.
yeah.
They're starting their own data center basically.
DHH likened clouds to merchants of complexity, where they are incentivized to make things as complex as possible to keep customers hooked. He
Agreed.
compared that to the original internet, which was not built on complex cloud services geared for multi-data. So they're going to move it. So I know you guys, uh, Gal, you using cloud, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In the The startup I worked
Right.
for, uh, they were using cloud infrastructure, but the reason they were using cloud infrastructure was the opposite. Was because this is how they could get maximum value on a limited time scale. So the way they work, actually they still work, is they spin up um, large amount of computing power operation, right? Stuff that needs to be crunched, but for an hour, for 7 days, but that's it. And everything shuts down and goes back to the pool. You would need to run this on your own infrastructure,
Mhm.
then you need to also package in the cost of these idle machines.
Right.
And if you only need pinpointed computing power, right, by uh, by the 10,000s of machines, okay, so you spin up 10,000 of jobs for a limited time. Even a week is a limited time, right? When those are done, you're not paying for that time anymore. So per hour, per computer, if I needed to run 10,000 computers all the time, and it that would cost a lot less if I run them myself. If I need them just for a few hours a week, right? Cloud computing is a godsend. Um, More to that, you can get cheaper computing time from the same providers by using something called preemptive CPU, which is you're going to pay, I don't know, half, maybe two-thirds. I don't remember the price change, but it was a substantial discount. You're gonna pay for a substantial discount, but moment me as your service provider or your cloud service provider, the moment the cloud service provider needs that CPU, you're going to be kicked out. Right? You're going to be kicked out of that process, and I'm going to reclaim it for my own use. So
Mhm.
if I have a customer that pays the full price, I'll give them that machine. But in the meantime, you can run this machine for as long as you want, and as long as you take care of the data, right? And you make sure that that works for you. Yeah, you can have it for a third of the price, half of the price, right? And so doing something like that with mass computing bursts, cloud computing is awesome, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Because somebody else is running the infrastructure, and it makes sense using it that way.
they're they're adding that this is not to say clouds has zero value for all use cases.
Exactly.
Hightower and DHH agreed clouds makes perfect sense in many cases for startups that do not know how much infrastructure they will need, and also for enterprises with a lack of expertise and money to burn. For many companies in the middle, though, a lot of profit margins can be recovered by reducing cloud costs and running things in house instead, they are arguing. And
What I
there's
don't get
always,
though,
I
what I
mean,
do not get about 37 signals specifically, um, if you open the Wikipedia page for 37 signals, as of 2021, they had 34 employees. They are a company that's been running since the early 2000s, right? 1999 is when they started. They are software as a service.
mhm,
You use their services online, right? And it has been that way for ages. So for them deciding to start to open their own data centers, right? It'll jump from these 34 employees to, I mean,
yeah, a
it'll at least
bunch.
double it,
Yeah,
right?
easy.
If not more, right? Because to run the amount of servers, because they should have, as far as I recall, they have a lot of customers. They are very popular in the startup world, as their suite of tools is it's sort of like a small. It's very stylized, very um, highly designed web design tool. So I don't know. It seems like a huge overtaking, and I wonder if they'll be frank and candid about the transition and the result of that transition in, let's say, 3 years, where they say uh, projected uh, savings were on point or were way off or something like that. That'll be interesting.
Well, um, even I mean, if I take Delta Force, for years and years, I had my own data center,
Right.
and that was costing. I mean, cost every month right out the top about $1,800 for the connectivity, for the electricity, machines, and machines repair, and things like that. And it got to the point where it's come on, this is getting to the point where now there's no more growth. I mean, I'm spending a lot. And Ron, my system administrator, says, Amnon, you can put everything on the cloud. And it cut it down by more than half. And
Right. So it's an economy of scale thing. So if you're
yes,
doing it
that
on a small scale, you're right.
right,
Cloud
exactly. That's
is
the
the way.
point.
Yeah.
That's the point. And I never thought about this. This has been a few years, but I said, well, geez, I could have saved so much money if I started from the beginning like this. And when you
Well,
think about also the fact that a hard drive goes bad, you don't have to jump up in the middle of the night like I used to have to and
right.
run over there and replace a drive and restore and all that. No, they're doing it bang. They tell me, we found out a problem and we replaced your hard drive. It was maybe it was down for 30 seconds or something like that. I don't know. But it's the point is that it is much more economical and it's less headache and you can devote yourself to giving service versus
Right.
how to keep what's going on. You were going to say?
No, no, I said right. Completely right.
Yeah. So yeah, it depends what you do, and that's exactly what they're doing is saying that some services actually it makes sense for them to be on the cloud, but some no. And I agree. I mean, to gauge what you're going to need, start on the cloud, see what you need,
Yeah.
and then say, well, you know what, we can do that we can do that ourselves. So yeah. Any comments, Spence?
I have a comment. Bear with me a second. I'm gonna.
Oh, um, now that
There's my comment.
when is this?
I have no idea.
Jeez,
I was looking through.
that's
I had
not
to
too
make sure
long.
that my online folder was working for my backups, and I said, oh, what's this picture folder I had? And I clicked on it, and this is what was in the picture folder.
That's not too long ago.
Well, look at you, your hair
Yeah, that's
a
true.
while
Yeah.
ago.
Okay. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Oh
Yep.
yes.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Okay, that was my comment.
All right. Um.
Yeah, I remember you when you had to go to Time Warner
Yeah.
when things would go wrong, and then you had that great IP addressable uh, power switch that you could
Yep.
recycle stuff and
Yeah.
restart stuff, and then that would fail, and you still have to go. It was
Yeah.
the middle of the night, and you'd be trying to get into the
But
building,
yeah. But
and
this was only if I needed to restart
no, but I mean,
something.
you've tried to make it
Yeah.
resilient as possible,
Right.
and even then, it still failed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. It was a pain.
I
All
got a
right.
tour. I got a
Yeah.
tour one time for. I think I was working for Nortel at the time, of one of on right near Crossroads. There's a hosting center there. And I don't remember the name of the company, but they
And
gave us a
Crossroads,
tour. No, but I mean they're the um it was a web hosting company, cloud company. I don't know
that
if they
was
called it
that
cloud
was
back
that
then.
was a little farther from Crossroads.
Yeah, so close to that.
Yeah,
But the
that was
point
what's
was we
his
went in, they
name?
gave us a tour, and you could
Yeah,
you could have your stuff in basically in a
yeah,
locked rack and all that. And he showed us the backup generators and how they ran it every
yep,
week. And it was like this was pretty new at the time. I mean, it
yep.
was the operations like that. It was like you looked at each other and go, why would anybody have their own stuff anymore if you could afford it? If you had
Yeah.
critical stuff that you wanted managed, and
Well, they
they
didn't
would do updates for you. They would do everything.
they didn't last long though.
No, they didn't. They were gone. I remember that.
They
But
were
we
it
were
was
trying to. I had some big.
it was a good friend, Kaplan, Larry Kaplan. That's the owner. And I was getting internet access from him. The connectivity was through that company. I can't remember the name of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But yeah, they spend money. They were all driving Porsches and things, and it was a startup.
I think we were
And
trying to sell them switches, Ethernet
yeah,
switches.
hmm
I
yeah.
remember right.
But yeah, I mean, and remember, when you have any kind of equipment, you are a cloud. Because without the internet, it's not a
Yeah,
service anymore. So we are all little bitty clouds, which are part of the big cloud, kind of. But with Amazon,
Amnon,
yeah,
it used to be called a server.
yeah, it used to be called a server. That's right. All right. Uh, FDA in a letter to Amazon CEO. This letter concerns your firm's distribution of products that violate the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. The United States Food and Drug Administration purchased on your website, Amazon.com, products that are labeled as energy enhancing supplements or food. But laboratory analysis confirms that they contain undeclared and potentially harmful active pharmaceutical ingredients. As discussed further below, your firm is responsible for introducing or delivering for introduction into interstate commerce product. They're getting it's mumbo jumbo and all kind of numbers of laws, but apparently there's a lot of stuff on Amazon that is dangerous
No.
if we follow them. Well, I mean, you don't think about it because you figure, okay, it has a name, it's a name brand, and they said that it does that. It's like when you go and you buy a aspirin. So you buy it from a whole bunch of different outfits.
Yeah, Amnon, they're talking about stuff like Viagra. They're talking about stuff like energy
Yeah,
drinks,
right.
right? They're talking about stuff that uh, are prescription strength, but
You buy it over.
not bought, not marketed as such,
Right.
and that's the problem.
Yeah. So yeah,
First of all, American tax money at work. Good for that, right?
yeah.
Sometimes, um, about 30% of the time, the tax is actually being used properly. So for this particular one, probably it's just 30% effective as well. But um, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what Amazon
Does about this,
does
yeah.
in reaction, right? Will these items go away, or will they try to fight back? I doubt they'll try to fight back, but
Probably not. I'm
I
sure
mean,
they know. I'm sure they know that that's the case.
yeah, but I mean, it's we have we might have been aware, but it was low priority item, right? Now the FDA is involved, so we'll make it a higher priority item and we'll deal
Yeah.
with it. Uh, Up until now, dealing with it did not make any money, and it would have cost them to deal with it. Now they have to deal with it because otherwise there'll
Mhm.
be fines. It's the
It's
way of
interesting.
business and politics. Yeah.
It's interesting talking about Amazon, and I never sold anything on Amazon, and I don't think any of us ever did.
I have a
Good.
friend who sells stuff on Amazon. He
Yeah.
has like a shop there. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too, and we talked this week, and it's amazing. He was telling me that 5 years ago, they were taking 19% of the sale. This year, he's been paying upwards of 70% per sale. And so he decided, he's going to have his own website, but he fulfills it through Amazon. And there's a way that you can hook it together. But for doing this, they charge you more.
Hmm.
It's amazing how much money these guys are making.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I hear a lot. Um, One of our nephews in after military service and
Yeah,
looking like how do I while I work in this shitty job right now because
yeah,
he doesn't want to go to school, is how do I start a business online or something, right?
yeah,
And they all come to me because uh, I work in with computers.
yeah,
You know, I'm the computer guy. So I told them, look, I've never run a business, right? So your question, I can help you technically, like what is a website? How do what is web serving
hmm,
software, stuff like that. But you are going to need to find customers.
yep,
That has not changed. It doesn't matter if you're working online or you're brick mortar,
right,
right? It's cheaper to start up a website as
hmm,
a shop, but you need to bring people into your shop. So your friend, right, selling through Amazon, he's exposed to anybody searching on Amazon.
right,
And that is what brings him sales, right? And that is why he was okay with paying the 19% and why he's still probably paying the
yeah,
70%,
right.
right? Commission. But starting his own website, how will he bring people to that website,
Look at Katie.
right?
Look how Katie is doing it.
Right. So Katie is actively creating
Yeah,
online content on TikTok, right?
right.
And is actively engaging with a customer base.
Hmm.
She goes to cons. I agree. That is the way to do it. But if you're an all timer,
But you don't
right?
have to. But you don't have to. You can do it on Etsy, and you don't have to go to cons or anything. You have,
Okay, so you pay Etsy. So
yeah,
now Etsy
yeah.
is the one, right? Starting your own though. That is going to be hard,
Of course, it's always
right?
is. Yeah,
Right, and that is a key thing, right? I guess none of our listeners are young. None of our listeners are starting their way. But if you need to help or give advice to somebody that's starting their way, is whatever fantasy you have right now in your mind, right?
forget it.
You can paint it in blue and throw it to the ocean. It
Yeah,
means nothing,
yeah,
right? You need experience. You need to, and it's fine. You do not necessarily need to go to school, or you do not necessarily, but you need to find somebody who has done something similar in the real world or in the virtual, and you need to learn from them. That is the only
absolutely.
way you will ever move in any direction here, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so,
Absolutely.
and stop listening to that TikTok video that is telling you, oh, it's easy, it's easy.
Yeah.
He's selling you something. If somebody tells you it's easy, he's selling you something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy for them
So,
to tell you something that you'll
yeah,
pay them for.
Yeah. It's very hard. And it's not just the selling, it's the rest of the stuff of running your own business.
yeah, maintaining everything.
Yeah. It's not.
Every time I see that post on Twitter or X that says, "I'm making $3,000 a
Yeah.
week working with Google,"
Right.
that's not true.
Right. It's a lot of bull. All right. You said it's easy. Yeah. It's easy to default to giving the tech gifts that retailers tend to push on us this time of year. But before you give one, think twice about what you are opting that person into. A number of these gifts raise red flags for us as privacy conscious digital advocates. Ring cameras are one of the most obvious examples, but countless others over the years have made the security or privacy naughty list. And maybe of these same electronics directly clash with your right to repair. One big problem with giving these sorts of gifts is that you're opting another person into a company's intrusive surveillance practice, likely without their full knowledge of what they're really signing up for. And let's not forget about kids, long subjected to surveillance from elves and their managers. Electronics gifts for kids can come with all sort of surprise issues, like the kid-focused tablets we found this year that was packed with malware and riskware. Kids' smartwatches and a number of connected toys are also potential privacy hazards that may not be worth the risks if not set up carefully. So, yeah, you get a ring set up and you give it to a friend or to a family member who is not really computer savvy. There are so many risks there that if you don't understand it and you're just using it as is and that's it, you are opening yourself to a lot of problems, right?
I
Gal,
got a
you have
neighbor.
what?
I got a neighbor,
Yeah,
right? One of the neighbors here. I don't know them personally.
yeah,
One of the neighbors, they have like a doorbell, like a doorbell camera, right?
yeah,
It's not a ring. It's something else.
something else.
And and I had that brand in the past, and it constantly flashes red and green, which means it is waiting to be paired.
Oh,
So
jeez.
yeah, it's not connected to their Wi-Fi basically. Right? Nobody's using it.
Yeah,
The ease of, if I want to spy on my neighbor's front door, right? Just I need just to make sure that there's enough Wi-Fi signal. I can do that with a phone, right?
right.
And I can connect it to my network and and monitor
Yeah,
their
I
comings
mean,
and goings. I always think about that. And I know I wouldn't do it, but it's like if somebody wants to stake that house, oh, they can. That's not a problem, right? They don't even need to be physically there. They
mhm.
need to just, you know, park there for 5 minutes, make sync up the doorbell, and the front door is monitored, and it's it yeah it always it cracks me up, that part.
Well, it
um
cracks you up, but if you think about it, it's very sad.
No, it's a huge risk. I mean,
Yeah,
the baby monitor connected to IP with default passwords. We talk about all of that, right?
right.
It's uh, as I said, the creepiest notion, right? has nothing to do with anything you are in control of. It's all about what's happening when you're not noticing, and a lot of that is happening all the time. So I get the warning. Uh, uh, I have a feeling that wherever that news article you were writing or you were reading it from is probably not read by anybody who that is targeted to,
Probably
and
not.
that's the problem. I think it's the fact that this isn't a bigger issue.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, but do remember, right? If you look just at the statistics of the U.S., uh, people prefer iPhone,
Hmm.
right? Thinking this is the this is the best thing ever, right?
Yep.
This keeps me safe, blah 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 blah. It just means that whoever's tracking you is Apple, right?
Yeah.
That's just what it means. It doesn't make it any difference. I have an Android, so whoever's tracking me is Google. Need to be aware.
That's the problem is people that are not
Yeah,
tech savvy and not aware of how things work will get in trouble.
it's definitely there's definitely a misunderstanding because if they do start talking about it, then it always sounds like conspiracy theory, right?
Yeah.
It's they're going into a sinister way. I think the worst part of it that there's nothing really sinister about any of this. Uh, the problem, the bad about it is that nobody cares.
Yeah.
uh, we went to a stand-up comedy last evening, and two of the stand-ups they're originally from New York, right? And they got some cheers from the crowd from people from New York, and they said one thing you need to understand about New York is nobody gives a shit, right? And this is the thing is we are living in the nobody gives a shit world. Nobody is specifically evil, right? It's just they're too large to even give a shit about you. And that's the problem. Is
Mm.
because when you are starting to get concerned about something like your privacy, right? That doesn't make them any money caring
Right.
about your privacy. So why should they bother? So then it became enough of a consumer pressure point, right? That privacy advocacy groups and stuff like that that started to chew up a bit into profits, so they started paying more attention, usually just by language, not changing anything, right? Just beefing up the legalese, changing things. They're still collecting the information, but they throw it out a week later instead of not throwing it out or stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Those small changes, they mean a lot, but they are always an effort. And in order for somebody to make an effort, they need to give a shit. But we're living in the we don't give a shit era, right?
Yeah. That's a good point. Good point. Well, what happened? Can't hear you.
Ooh,
You are here.
How about now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, one of the cables moves.
Okay.
Um, so this reminds me in the 90s, early 90s, mid 90s, cell phones become a thing, right? You remember different luck draws and prizes where you would get a free cell phone? Remember those promotions where you would
Mm,
get a free cell phone? Like
but
buy, I don't know, the buy Pepsi, send in the slabs. One of the biggest prizes, a free cell phone. You remember all of those?
I don't.
I,
But
in Israel, it was huge, right?
okay.
I'm pretty sure it didn't start in Israel, right? So every time I saw get a free cell phone, right? I was thinking, who the fuck wants to win a free cell phone, right? Unless he's in the market right now to buy
Yeah.
a new cell phone.
Yeah.
Because the first thing you get with a cell phone is a monthly bill,
Yeah.
right? Who wants to win a monthly bill? That's what I never could understand.
Yeah,
And now this is pretty much the same thing, right? Who wants to win a constant feed, right, into their privacy?
yeah,
And that's exactly what
that's
they're talking
exactly
about.
what it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Constant feed into their privacy. That's a good way to put it. Yep.
Oh, but they got it as
Uh,
a gift.
huh?
But they got it as a
It's
gift.
a gift. Yeah.
All right. Again, let's switch. The key to a future Wi Fi you can depend on is something called multi link operations, MLOs. Gotta say something so you will get up on the
One, two,
screen. I mean, I see Spencer's back of his head.
frozen.
Oh, sorry.
No, he's not. He's just,
No, I was leaning over to. I
yeah.
don't have glasses with me today. I was trying to read something on the screen.
It is the marquee feature of Wi Fi 7. Gosh, we're not even big
I
time into Wi Fi 6, are we?
I think I'm using Wi-Fi 5 at this
Yeah,
point.
most of
Six
us do.
plus. 6 plus is not even. Is just starting to ship.
So now there's Wi Fi 7. Say Kevin Robinson, president of CEO of the Wi Fi Alliance. MLO comes in two flavors. The first and simpler of the two is a version that allows Wi Fi devices to spread a stream of data across multiple channels in a single frequency band. The technique makes the collective Wi Fi signal more resilient to interference at a specific frequency. Where MLO really makes Wi Fi 7 stand apart from previous generations, however, is a version that allows devices to spread a data stream across multiple frequency bands. For context, Wi-Fi utilizes three bands, 2.5, 5, and as of 2020, 6 gigahertz. So right now you can set up your router to 2. Well, I thought it was 2.4 gigahertz. They're talking about 2.5, or you can set it up to 5 gigahertz, and now with the new ones, 6 gigahertz. So this is kind of what I think this is how cell phones are working, where their packets are not coming on the same frequency, they're coming on different ones. Maybe I'm thinking about the new. No, no, I don't know about cell phones. That's right. I used to listen to scanners, and you listen to the police and to the fire and airports and stuff. Years ago, they changed and they went to digital. And in digital, they switch frequencies. Every packet goes to different frequency apparently, and you can't listen to it anymore.
That's that rake receiver technology I mentioned. I guess last week, where that's a military technique.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's how they do it, and it's safer. It's also, I mean, since it comes on different ones, I guess it's also more resilient, like they're saying.
Well,
But
it's resilient for interference, right?
yes, interference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but only for natural interference, because if you want to blast a bandwidth, you'll
Oh yeah.
blast the entire bandwidth.
Sure. Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. But I mean, I just saw Wi-Fi 7. What in the hell are they talking about?
Yeah. Look, at this point, um, good. I think if anybody is having trouble with Wi-Fi, right? If anybody is not okay with the Wi-Fi they have, one thing they need to stop looking at is consumer grade Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they are just they are dumbed down, and they are designed uh, to uh, they are designed in such a way that if if there's a small problem, it just becomes an everything or nothing problem. That's been in my experience, right? And so if you're buying, I don't know, a Wi-Fi hotspot with a router on it, uh, that's the first indication that you're buying something consumer grade because it's packing things that probably work well on their own, right? The moment they're tied in together, there are things that are going to they're not really designed to be together, and so we're seeing that. And so uh, I was the if there's something that I have that I advocate to anybody coming with tech for tech advice for me is usually pay as little as you can about something, right? Never overpay.
Mhm.
Never buy a brand name just because of the brand, or always look at the spec and always pay as little as you can. But when it comes to Wi-Fi, I found most consumer grade stuff is really terrible. It doesn't matter if you paid, I don't know, $500 for it or $100 for it. If
Mhm.
it's consumer grade, it is not designed to work for a long time. They don't care. It's there's no, you won't get firmware updates. You won't get, like there's no there are very few brands who actually care about their consumers in that.
The
Uh,
Wi-Fi, I find that even though they're putting out Wi-Fi 6 products, is that oh, get this mesh, it solves all the problems in your house.
I,
It
it
doesn't
does
because
not.
the backhaul is too slow. The connectivity between the endpoints. So I actually did a quick consult with a customer. I was visiting another customer and I said, oh, could you go over and talk to this guy? He's got the latest Wi-Fi 6 stuff and it works like crap in his house. Well, show me where the router Wi-Fi access point is. He had it in the back of a closet,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
hidden behind boxes. This is not going to work here. And then I said, well, you need to you have your other access points like in cabinets. I said, it's not going to work. And he had the whole house was wired. I said, well, what we should do is make all the backhaul over Ethernet and then put these things out. You got to have them out in the open. Oh, I can't do that because my wife doesn't want to have stuff on the
right.
counters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, I've been there. I've been there. So you you look at the not the professional stuff, but you there is the in between, right?
prosumer stuff.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, the prosumer exactly. And yes, it costs more, but guess what?
Oh,
You
it's
pay
worth it.
once, you sit down because they cost more. You sit down, you think about your setup, you think about how you're going to distribute everything, a hotspot or whatever. And lo and behold, one time I paid something that cost me like three times all of the crap that I bought before, but I haven't looked back since, right? It's like, yes, it's a Wi-Fi 5, but I do not need anything more because it actually works.
Mhm.
And it works for a long time and it'll continue to work. And zero problems unless I create the problems, unless I go in and I mess up some configuration. But as long as it actually works, the stuff that should work works. And so that's the thing about things that we get to rely on. And when we get anybody who's listening to us, right? I'm totally sure that they've had this experience where they have this one router somewhere that they need to reboot more than once a week. That is probably the most annoying thing. It's like a nagging pain, right? It's yeah, it's there. You think you're gonna need to live with it because it's there. You've got used to it. You're no longer too angry about it, right? But it it's an annoyance. The moment that is lifted, it is phenomenal. It
That's your point you were making before. That manufacturer abandoned updates on that machine
yeah,
and they
yeah,
don't care anymore. The hardware is too old. They're not going to support it. They're not selling it. So they're just going to let it sit and rot. And until the person is willing to buy something newer, I'm running on Wi-Fi 5.
Yeah.
and I have my endpoints are wired. I have great service in the house. It's automatic. If you put the same SSID and password on both machines, both endpoints, it does automatic handoff because it's part of the Wi-Fi standard, 5 and better.
Right,
Used to
but show
be,
me that working with two crappy routers you bought for less than $100
yeah, it
each
wouldn't
one.
work. It
You'll
wouldn't
you'll
work.
set them up like that, and they'll be wired, right? But it will never do that. It'll switch back and forth. You'll get more disconnected than you are connected, right?
Yep.
I used to be in that place. She
So,
said,
Gal,
"Yeah,
now also tell everybody what you ended up with.
ended up with Wi-Fi, Unify, sorry, from Ubiquiti.
Ubiquity.
But they're
Good
yeah,
stuff.
they're a bunch more like them. Like I like them. They're not perfect. Uh, there's some limitations. But do the research. Like there are other options, right? Uh,
Yep.
I'm not I'm not a fanboy for Ubiquiti. I do like their products, and yes, I am in their ecosystem and I buy it. But I instead of buying something for $100, right? Or two somethings for $100, I got most of what I need wired. I remember using power lines to connect a bunch of routers at the end, so to extend the Wi-Fi range and stuff like that, and using a bunch of routers because I didn't want to shell out for a proper switch. So the stuff I took out was about $350 worth of stuff that I took out, right, which I bought over the years. And this is after replacement and replacement. So I probably spent on my network in frustration around $500 to $600 over a period of, I don't know, 5 to 6 years. And in 2000, I think it's 2016, maybe 2017, I bought um, uh, no, it was a bit later, 2019, I think. I bought a bunch of Unify equipment. I haven't bought anything since. That cost me back then around a $500, right? So, in terms of equipment replacement, I threw out everything. The only thing I have from my ISP is their fiber entry point. So the router is out as well. I'm using only my equipment, only the Unify equipment. Managing it is rather easy because there's like the centralized controller, but it just works.
Mm-hmm.
There are some advantages to the consumer stuff, but the problem is if you have a Wi-Fi 6 consumer stuff, they don't necessarily implement all the things that are in the
Right.
standard, like the error correction, automatic frequency selection, all these different things that can be dynamic. So it's worth it to spend if you want to get Wi-Fi 6, get the 6. Is it 6 plus or 6?
I actually don't know.
I forget what the designation is. There's a 6 and there's a 6 better. And they're just starting to come out with those now. And that's got what the advantage to that is that it does this multiple frequency. But you have to have a network card. Remember this, Amnon? If you've got a G card in your machine and you get Wi-Fi 6, your grandfathered in, it will work. But you're also slowing down the access point because it has to work,
If you have,
has to
yeah,
be
if you
dumbed
have,
down to work with older technologies.
yeah,
So if you turn off everything except 5G Wi-Fi 6 and you have adapters that can work with that, you'll get very good
yeah,
service.
you have to have everything. That's what Gal did. Is he replaced everything. Yeah,
Yep.
you have to have it support because otherwise you are killing. Everything is going to have to cater to that
Yeah.
lower to that
Right.
You have
old.
to have
Yeah,
AC clients at a
yeah,
minimum. AX is 6, I think,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yep, 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 yep. All
The
right.
reason I replaced a couple of my Fire Sticks was that they had Wi-Fi 6.
Microsoft quietly launched a dedicated Copilot app on Android, giving users a way to access Copilot's AI features without the Bing mobile app. It is now available for download from the Google Play Store, and the app's listing suggests it arrived in the marketplace about a week ago. The new Copilot app for Android is not entirely a new thing. At first sight, it looks similar to the Bing Chat app, which still lets you access the same chat features. But in addition, you can use Copilot within the Microsoft Edge browsers for Android, SwiftKey, Skype, and more. Copilot for Android supports plenty of features. You can also toggle between light and dark themes that are already available on desktop. You can ask complex questions, generate images using DALI 3, draft documents or emails, or just have a casual conversation about anything. In addition, the app lets you turn off or on the recently added GPT-4. So, in other words, I mean, this is nice, right? You have to have a lot of time on your hand, but you can put your phone on the desk or on the charger actually and just let it do its thing. You don't even need to
Well,
interact. I'm being
it's not
facetious.
about having time because if you've asked the Android assistant or the Google assistant, or you were asking Siri on an Apple, right? Now you can ask the Copilot, and you're getting an AI's response and not just the marketed stuff. I actually noticed something on the Copilot website recently. They've added something called add-ons, plugins, something like that. Um, the plugins. So they're all switched off for me. But uh, let's say I see Open Table as a plugin, and it provides restaurant recommendation with a direct link to book. So if you ask it, right, you can ask it a question like you would ask um, an an Echo device or a Google Assistant or Siri, right? As is there any restaurant around or something like that? And it goes and it finds it.
Hmm.
The one thing that is switched on by default is the search, which makes the AI being able, it goes, it search the web, reads the results, and gives you an answer based on that. So it's not only what it already knows, but it's also based on what it knows how to read content and provide context, right? And that
In
is,
a timely manner.
well, I mean, it's still probably slow compared to, let's say, a search engine, right? Because there's some processing going on there.
Yeah.
We've seen what it is to chat with with such a robot, right? The response, they come in very slow, uh, but and I'm sure that that it's going to change, and
Oh, and
it
talking
is
about
it's a phenomenal tool. I've been using it more and more. And I keep saying it's not going to replace anything that I do, and I do not see anybody that it's going to replace, but it's definitely providing me an assistant that I could never afford, right? That's literally how I would describe it. It's like
does it
having a personal assistant that I would never have the option to afford, and now it is accessible to me. And let's say it is also true if I had to pay, let's say my company pays for it $20 a month for me, let's say, that would still be the same thing. It's like, show me an assistant that you can hire for $20 a month. Doesn't
can
exist. So
can you ask it for a cup of coffee?
you can ask it,
You can ask.
will not respond. Not with the answer that you want.
You can get an assistant, but for $20, it's probably 10 minutes.
Right, exactly. That's
And
what I
then have to
mean.
pay
Like,
for their transportation.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yes, we're now going to have this imaginary friend uh, 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 I'll add an imaginary friend who lives in a cloud that assists us along the day. Uh, this brings us to some very old school sci-fi paradigms, right? Uh, where, or let's just go to Avenger movies, where he has that Jeeves entity that does everything for him for Iron Man. So yeah, this is it's an interesting tool to have handy, and right now I think Microsoft is in the lead with what they're offering, how they're offering it.
Yeah. And what they're getting.
Well, we don't know yet.
Here's some of the stuff they're getting. The New York Times sued OpenAI and Microsoft for copyright infringement on Wednesday, opening a new front in the increasingly intense legal battle over the unauthorized use of published work to train artificial intelligence technologies.
Yeah,
And it's going to
I
get
do
worse
not
and
know how
worse.
I feel about that. I mean, I understand where it's coming from. I'm not obtuse. But if I exclusively read New York Times for the past 20 years, right?
Right.
And now I write an article, am I liable for copyright
Exactly.
infringement?
See, that's
That's
the
what I
thing.
don't
Yeah.
get, right?
Yep.
It's how do we measure this? What if it's just 70% similar to stuff that the New York Times wrote? And what happens when there's a couple of lines that are 100% and the rest is different.
Mm-hmm.
That is that plagiar. It's I don't know. It's that one is a weird one. I'm not saying I disagree with New York Times here. I'm saying it is a complex one. Do we compare it to how humans behave and output, right? Or do we treat it completely different? Like what? Is that because they didn't buy a subscription for the AI to say, yeah,
Yeah,
we've
I
read
think
that,
it's just
right?
money. Yeah.
Obviously, but my guess is they're asking for a lot more than, a single person paying a subscription for 20 years, right?
Right.
So, um, like where does that stand? Um,
Well,
yeah.
the safest thing to do would be not to just have the AI available to post citations for you, not actually change what you wrote, just to make
I
sure that everything gets quoted. Right?
Right.
Go
And
through your document, say, okay, I found that these 10 instances have no citation to say that it was quoting this person. So I'll add the quote marks and the footnote, and then you're
but
safe.
Bing actually does that.
No, I
So
realize.
the
No, I'm
cop
saying that's
yeah,
why it's worth it. It's
yeah, I
probably
know.
doesn't cost that much, but
Yeah,
why
it's
why
so
wait
strange.
till it's out there before you have to react to it? Just use the new Harvard standard. That's what they're going to call it. The Harvard standard for
For
plagiarism.
citations.
plagiarism. It's the apply as necessary depending on the circumstances.
Then they'll be
Well,
sued by Harvard for
Yeah,
using
yeah.
their
One of the women who was cited by the Harvard president without citation has come out to say it's not just these few lines. And she provided proof to say, and that's what was turned over to the people who are investigating now to say that no, there's a lot more of this. And she says her whole body of work was mentioned, and it goes way back. And so she's not happy. She's not unhappy. I'm sure she's not happy about the whole thing. She's very vocal. But yeah, it's interesting times.
yeah. There was one more thing that I wanted to mention here, not computer related though. Hannah, my daughter, when she bought her house, she got that uh, home shield, whatever.
Home warranty.
Yeah, a home warranty from this company that I can't remember the name of it. I mean, there are a few of them. Um, her water heater went bad, and they did replace it, but she had to pay extra because they said that it wasn't up to code
It's
before.
funny you mentioned this. Are you talking about this? There's an article just came out about this.
No, I don't know.
No,
I mean,
about
this,
about these services, how that's what they get you on is
yeah.
the
So
yeah.
And she had little things that she had done, and they worked pretty good. But I mean, of course, she didn't get her money's worth. So she always had a problem with the bathtub not draining fast enough. Got to the point a couple of weeks ago where it was complete. It was hardly draining. So I said, "Well, put some drain opener." So she did, and she did, and she did, and it didn't do anything. So she called them, and a guy came over, uh, the service, and they said, "Yep, there is that drum trap here. They call it drum.
Should be dumb.
Yeah, and it needs to be replaced with a P trap." So she told me that. She called them, and they said, "Oh, we don't pay for modifications. You have to pay for that." And the guy told her that it's illegal to replace that because it's not up to code. Yet, when I went to look and see what is a drum trap, they sell it all over the place. Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever. But they will not do it. And the guy that came in, their preferred plumber, whatever, said it's going to cost about $500 and they will pay 200 and some dollars of it. So you're looking at 700 and some dollars. And I said, "No, call Greg." Greg is a good friend of ours that he did. I mean, we used to work together, and he also later on did all the water filters in the house and all that. So she called Greg, and Greg wanted to see pictures, and he called her after a few days. He said, "Yeah, I can do that. That's no big deal." And he went there, and they went to Home Depot and bought the the PVC piece. Um, he also got borrowed my Sawzall because he said, we're going to have to uh, cut the pipe, the drain pipe." He did all this and changed it, and he asked for $150, and she gave him 200, and he argued. He said, "No, I mean, you saw how long it took. I mean, it's no big deal." And she canceled her insurance. She said, "Yeah, I don't understand why I did it. It was a good feeling to know that if something happens, I have some." But every time they say, "Oh, no, we don't cover this. We don't cover that. You have to pay more for this." And can you imagine if they, if she was somebody who was dumb and said, "Okay, well, yeah, I guess I have to bring it up to code. So I'm going to have to pay 700 and some dollars or 500 and some dollars." That plumber would have made a killing.
Did that include getting the permit?
No, it did not include
Yeah.
permit.
So I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, there's
yeah.
all kind of
Wow.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I was there, I mean, I had to go for something else later on, and I looked, I said, "Oh, you mean that's what had to be done?" I mean, I was thinking, 5-inch drain line and all that. No, it was like a 2-inch drain line and just put a trap in there. Wow. Code schmacode.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
You look at pictures of this design, and it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. How it was ever thought to be a good idea.
I don't
I
know,
mean,
but apparently they still do it.
P traps and S traps have existed as long as this has, or
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe this was
I
first.
don't, yeah, they said, "Oh, there, the house was built in the 60s, 50s,
Oh, it was
60s."
around in the. They had P traps in the system in the
Yeah.
50s.
I mean, it is ridiculous. I never had to deal with any of these people because we never had any kind of uh, insurance like this for home appliances. At this point, I mean, I did get a water heater insurance from uh, Duke, but it's like $2 and some a month. and trust me, they will have to replace it if something happens. Yeah, it's only about 5 years old, but we'll see.
Dominion offers all these. I don't know about. They do have
Yeah,
a home plumbing one, and if you add it all up, it's very expensive because they do it. The only one I have it covered for is my water line. I pay for the water line for a replacement and restoration. That's the only
from the
because they have
street to the
from the
house, not
street to the
yeah,
house because I
yeah,
know that could be thousands of dollars.
yeah. So yeah,
So
it's ridiculous. I told her a few times. I said, "Look, you're not getting," and it was something like I don't know, $800 a year or something like that. And it's not like she's got the money. So she said, "Well, now I don't need to worry about paying this anymore." Yeah. So she asked me to talk about it, to mention this, so
yeah,
people will know what's going on.
take some of that money, put it into a an account that you have
Yeah,
set aside for repairs.
exactly. Even if you take a quarter of it and put
Yep,
it every year. Yeah. Anyway, it's that time of day.
it's that time of year.
It's that time of year. It's that time of the century.
That's it.
It's only going to come one time. Anybody has anything else to add here? What's happening in the chat? Oh, yeah, there was something with G. Laverne said, "Is it okay to say shit on the radio?" And John told her it's not ever. This is not radio, and I apologize if it offended. And that,
I'm
if I
sorry.
say
I'm the
things,
foreigner who curses a lot. Sorry about that.
no, I mean, I said, yeah, sorry if it offended, but that if I said things are splendid, someone will get offended. If I say things are awful, it might just be unlawful. That's
It's good.
interesting. Yeah. But anyway,
You
so
don't have a dump button, Amnon?
yeah, outside.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. No, we can say what we want. Thank God they don't regulate that yet.
But they're
Well, I don't
listening.
think they will.
I
No,
don't
it'd be
know.
Not
hard
in
to
that way
enforce.
anyway.
No.
That's the old school way.
Yep.
I
Okay,
was
guys.
watching a just a quick thing, a
Yeah,
video
yeah, yeah.
watching a conference at a college where they were talking about something, and the people started, the audience started to come in and complain about, "Oh, I'm offended by what you're saying," and the woman said, "Get a helmet."
Good. All right. Gal, anything you wanted to add?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
In Israel, the New Year is mostly the Jewish New Year,
Right.
which is in a
That
completely
was some
different
months
timeline.
ago.
In Israel, I would say happy tax year because it's the same in all over the world. So,
All right, guys. Well, thanks, Spence. Thanks, Gal. And I hope Nick gets home safe, and I hope Katie gets better. And again, Happy New Year to everybody. And a good morning to Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie and Donna, Dina, Mati, Eleanor, Sarid, Yaakov and Yael. Thanks everybody for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing, back up your hard drive, and update your virus scanner. And change same passwords wherever you use them. We'll be back here next year, Sunday next year at 9. But you can always reach us at computers2know.com. And again, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. Nick is on Wilmington's 980 The Wave and 107.9 FM with his daily politics show with commentary. If you can tell your Echo device to play 980 the wave, or you can go later on to nickcraig.com. And Nick and Brian also do the Infection Podcast every week on Twitch. Just go to infectionpodcast.com to find out when it is, and you can always go there and just download the podcast later on. Again, have a safe New Year's, and again, Happy New Year. See you next year. Bye.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.